This review contains clips from the Lego Movie, the Lego Batman Movie, the Lego Ninjago Movie, and the Lego Movie 2, the second part. I do not claim to have any ownership of the movies entailed. They are just used as a point of criticism and commentary for the sake of a film review. Warner Brothers does not like me using their clips, so I'm putting this intro as a bit of a precaution. If you would like to see more of these movies, definitely check them out on Blu-ray and digital, and enjoy the review. Hello everyone, and welcome to Spearman Studios. And today we're talking about the Lego Movie 2, the second part. One of the things that I still play with today, and it isn't a huge surprise, but I still play with Lego today. It's one of my favorite forms of building. Like, every time I feel depressed, I start building with Legos. It's something that meditates me a bit. And it wasn't a surprise as a kid, like earlier 2013, when it was announced that the Lego Movie would be a thing. And no one really thought that movie was going to be great because, well, it was a product. It was a product tie-in. But because it's a product tie-in, that didn't mean that you couldn't really do anything good with it. And so 2014 gave us one of the best movies of the year with the Lego Movie. A film that was about a chosen one plot, but actively was making fun of the premise. A film that talked about copyrights and patents and all this stuff and how it pretty much is changing in a world full of digitization. You know, it's pretty much an anti-copyright movie. And at the same time, it's a glorification of Lego's own stance on Legos and how anyone can build with it. Anyone can pretty much build, you know, not even just the adults, but kids. And kids should be allowed to build as well as adults. And that was what was really positive about the Lego Movie. It was one of those films that was full of so much substance that a lot of people, even when they watched it the first time around, still had fun. You don't need to have a thick message in the film that's so overt that you don't distract from being entertaining. And the Lego Movie was just that, a perfect balance of being an entertaining product film, but as well as being a deeper thematic drive on, well, copyrights and how people play with Legos and all this other stuff. And truly, it was one of my favorites. And you would expect, after something of a success of the Lego Movie, that there would be a sequel, maybe 2 or 3 years down the line. Nope. In 2017, we got 2 different spin-off films, the Lego Batman Movie and the Lego Ninjago Movie. For me, the Lego Batman Movie was one of my favorite films of 2017, mostly because it was a celebration of Batman while also being kind of a film about a different type of Batman, a Batman that is a little bit egotistical, but it's also fun to laugh with. And it's truly a celebration of both Batman and DC, and while some people have an issue with the final act, I still think it still plays into what the original film kind of plays with, is this sort of melding of properties, this sort of, you know, how all these properties can intermingle with each other. You know, and that was a thing that was translated well into this one. And considering the fact that these movies are all produced by Warner Brothers, you know, why wouldn't they use things like, you know, the Daleks or Harry Potter or, you know, Gremlins, you know? Why wouldn't they use all those properties to further accentuate the themes of, you know, enemies and all that stuff? And then the Lego Ninjago Movie for me was a bit more of a hodgepodge film. Like, there's certain aspects I really love, like the cat bit, which was spoiled in the trailers, unfortunately. But then there was other stuff that didn't quite work out so well for me. I just found it kind of the weakest out of the whole bunch. Not saying it's bad, but I think it's just kind of a weak film. And so, 5 years later, we get the Lego Movie 2. Do good things happen to those who wait? In my opinion, yeah, it definitely is. The Lego Movie 2, the second part, follows Emmett and the civilians of former Bricksburg after the invasion of Duplo. Taking place in the new Apocalypseburg, society goes into a Mad Max theme while Emmett remains unchanged in the changing times. One day, General Mayhem arrives seeking the fiercest warrior, and she takes a bunch of Emmett's friends, so it's up to him to get his friends back. I actively feared going into this film, because usually when it comes to films that are anticipated, that were made, sequels that were made to films that were really, really good in the first movie, tend to really disappoint. And if you've seen my disappointing or meh movies of 2018, you would know that I put Incredibles 2 and Wreck-It Ralph 2 on there, mostly because they just didn't fully recapture, or at least fully recapture, but also further the themes of their respective first films. And it came as a surprise to me that the Lego Movie 2 is actively really good. Like really good. I was reassured of the fact that this film was also penned by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the original directors of the first film. And I gotta say, I really love this film. Like, it's not quite as good as the first movie, but it's really good. Like, seriously, it's really good. But why is it good? Let's give you some context.
Lego is here. Hey, kids, look! A whole new world to build. 'Cause Lego is here.
This young boy had such fun. He used Lego one by one. With a knick-knack, paddywhack, built himself a plane. This young boy's glad Lego came.
Lego, a whole new world to build.
This young girl had such fun. She used Lego one by one. With a knick-knack, paddywhack, built a house so grand. This young girl's a Lego fan.
Build hotels, animals, people, boats, skyscrapers, and more. So kids, get your Lego set now at department and toy stores everywhere. Lego, the sensation of Europe, now made in America by Samsonite, who make it better for longer lasting fun.
Now, since that advertisement came out, the brand of Lego has changed dramatically. Even down to nowadays, we discuss things of how toys have become gendered with different color palettes. But as people are talking about these gendered things, one thing is still kept in mind. Lego is a brand that appeals to everyone. And that really means everyone. And that's something that is touched upon in this movie. The story of Lego Movie 2 definitely picks off where it left off. It's much like the first one, and how the first one was more of a confrontation between a father and his son. How the father was a bit more restrictive with how he plays with the Lego toys, and how his son wanted to play with him, and how Lego should be a thing that families play together with. But the sequel takes it to a different direction, whereas the conflict changes from a father versus his son. Now it changes from brother to sister. And this is something that I felt very passionate about by the end of the film. The film itself, is a natural brother versus sister confrontation. And it naturally follows it, because it does, follow directly after the events of the first movie, with the invasion of Duplo, and then the whole 5-year break, and how the sister and brother grow up over time into different people, essentially. And it's really great. And if you thought the first film should have been nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be nominating it this time around either, because this film heavily goes into the whole, breaking that fourth wall into the reality, the real world. There's a little bit more of a live action segment, partially with one character in mind, but there is a little bit more of the live action segments and how our reality influences their reality. I honestly think it's a bit different. I don't think the Academy will nominate it, but I wish it did, because it's so good. It's a really good movie, but I don't think the Academy will nominate it. The film also has themes of expectations and how a lot of them are unrealistic, such as society is always good or always bad, The film also has a tiny hint of gender expectations, although it's very rare, involving two of the main characters. How some are genuinely forced to change their performance, usually to the detriment to relationships. And this is where it kind of gets emotional for me, because I fear I might have been the only person in the theater to cry during this movie. This kind of stems from something that's very, very personal, and that is my own relationship to my own sister. And me and my sister used to play a lot with each other when we were kids. And because of the way I had behaved, as well as everyone else had behaved after my father's death, everything changed. My own sort of way, my own sort of morality changed, and I didn't want to have my sister play with me at all. And even when she wanted to get into Lego building, I genuinely didn't want to have her with me. And I wish I had, because nowadays, me and my sister don't really get along with each other. We're not the best of friends. She actively doesn't love me. She actively doesn't like me either. And it's just sad, And if it's one thing that I truly appreciate about this film, is the way that the message of the film, with how, we can mend things together, not necessarily the most quickly, but, we can work together to change for the better. And that is accentuated in one of the film's songs towards the very end of the film, and I really enjoyed that aspect. And it makes me sad to think that the things that brothers and sisters, they usually look up to each other depending on how old they are, and in that film, in the Lego Movie 2, it really accentuated that relationship in a certain way. And I don't want to give away specific spoilers, but it definitely, when you see it, you'll notice it. And it's one of those things that I regret not doing. And the Lego Movie 2 made me realize that, and how broken my relationship is with my own family members. And it was beautiful. It was a nice, beautiful moment that made me cry. And I think I am the only one to have ever cried in my theater. I could be wrong, but I really enjoyed that theme, that sort of extra layer that they added on to the film. While some may view this film as too on the nose as to some of the things they refer to, like Armageddon, it kind of makes fun of what they are going to do with the whole shtick. The animation here is something to give praise to, as there is a little bit more detail on the bricks. It is a little bit more fluid with the first. It is a bit more fluid than the first film, and Queen whatever on the Watanabe is a fun character. I might have said her name wrong, but she's a very fun character. How she moves around with the bricks, it was very entertaining. The way she morphs and shifts her body is truly inspired, and the songs that were put in, both licensed and original, are entertaining to listen to and enjoy. There are even some funny cameo gags too, and I don't want to give those away. Those are genuinely funny. I have no real complaints about this film, other than, where the hell is my Bill and Ted set? Like, seriously, this film actually brings up a Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure set, and I'm like, where the hell is that? I want that. Give me that. I already have the DeLorean. I need to get a TARDIS. I'm going to do all this stuff with Lego. Can Lego make a Bill and Ted set? I would love that. In all seriousness, the one thing that did kind of distract me a little bit is a little bit of the whole, how some of the things can be a little bit predictable and with certain characters. And I'm not going to describe who it is or what their motivations are, I felt a little bit, there was a little bit too on the nose and too predictable in certain areas, but it didn't really distract me fully from the main film and my overall enjoyment of it. Suffice to say that my review is a little bit more biased than everyone else's. Some people will think that, my review of the Lego Movie 2 is a little bit biased in the fact that it pertains to something in my real life, but when has our enjoyment of a film not be pertained to things that are in our lives, That's just me. Is it as good as the original? Maybe, but maybe not. But it's definitely really close to being as good as the original. But just because this movie is not as good as the first movie does not mean that this film in of itself is not good. I want to make that very clear. Just because I say a sequel to a movie is not as good as the first movie by even a tiny margin does not mean that that film is entirely bad. Definitely go take your time to watch this movie. It's more well thought out. It's a sequel that is worth watching, and I think you'll have some very good enjoyment of it. Even if you don't think about the deeper themes of the film, it's still an entertaining film from beginning to end. The Lego Movie 2 gets an A-. Thank you guys so much for watching my review of the Lego Movie 2. Do you think that this film is good? Have you seen it yet? Definitely comment your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.